Salvē, Mike, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at John chapter 5, verses 32 through 35. But first, last time in John. Yes, also last time in John, the heater turned on. Has a tendency to do that. And then switch off, apparently. Ah, the sweet gurgling of that machine above my door. Here is our rubric. Let us begin. Alias est qui testimonium perhibet de me, et scio quia verum est testimonium, quod perhibet de me. Vos misistes ad Johannem, et testimonium perhibuit veritati. Ego autem non ab homine testimonium accipio, sed haec dico ut vos salvi sitis. Ille erat lucerna ardens et lucens, vos autem voluistis exultare ad horam in luce eus. Taking a look at our first verb, we see alias with us, pretty clearly a nominative, singular, masculine. This word means other or another. Est as our verb, which means we have a linking connection here. Looking ahead, qui must be singular because est and alias are singular, so nominative, singular, masculine. Qui needs its own verb as a subordinate clause. Taking a look past testimonium, we see the expected word prohibit, which we've seen enough times before. This one is a second conjugation, so we know this is going to be present tense. Otherwise, don't need to parse it. As I said, we've seen it enough times before. This one as acting as the object of prohibit. Should at least write down something, singular, and this is neuter, witness, so bears witness. And then we have a prepositional phrase here. De takes the ablative. Yes, that's what I remember. Singular and common. Et, new clause, so that closes this prepositional phrase. Scio is the first principal part, so we shouldn't need to parse that, but this means to know. Not curiously. In the Greek, we have oida, which is its own funky word, but it means the same thing as scio, to know. Like I think, as I've said before, I think science comes from scio via its adjective or noun, but scio introduced is a quia clause, but this is, quia is always a direct speech rather than indirect, and we can tell that also by the est. Again, another thing we don't need to parse. But the question then is verum a adverb, as often happens, or is it a nominative adjective with est linking it to something else? Looking ahead to testimonium, it's going to be the same one there, so I'm just going to pull that down. Testimonium is neuter, which would then explain why verum has the um ending. Est connecting the two. Quod is not going to be connected with est, so then yes, verum must be nominative, singular, neuter, modifying witness. Quod from qui, quae, quod, accusative, singular, neuter, as the direct object of prohibit. Again, just keep reusing these words. Very nice. No need to parse. De, prepositional phrase, same as the one above. Just pull that down. Moving on into verse 33, we have vos, which is the nominative plural pronoun, unnecessary since we have it right here with misistis, e ist it, imus istis, so second person plural, not singular, what's wrong with me, off of the perfect stem, so this is mito, mittere, misi, is active, and indicative. This matches the Greek, which also has a perfect right here. Prepositional phrase, one sends something to a dative, or more likely a prepositional phrase with ad, taking the accusative, singular, masculine, closed prepositional phrase. Though testimonium is the correct form for being part of ad, since it's with perhibuit, the perfect form of this same verb, doesn't make sense for it to be the object of both of this prepositional phrase and of our verb. But this is a, with it, third person singular, active, because there's no r's in the ending. Otherwise it would have to be r's would be with the present tense. With the perfect, we would have to go with the fourth principal part. So there would be perhibeo, perhibere, perhibui, I don't actually know. Perhibutus, yeah, I don't know. That's weird. But neither here nor there. We've got a lot to get through. So this is indicative. And this testimony is being born for veritati. So this is veritas, veritatis. I then tells us this is dative singular. And it is a feminine because the as, atis nouns are almost exclusively feminine. Still can't think of or have not run into any non-feminines as the indirect object. On into 34. Here we get another unnecessary, therefore emphatic pronoun with this one. The Greek is even more emphatic than we see in the Latin because it has emphatic forms of me, whereas Latin, unfortunately, or I guess for new Latin learners anyway, fortunately, does not. Ego, autem indicates new clause, which ego already does. It's unnecessary. It's not unnecessary. This is linking the two. I'm rambling at this point. Moving on. Add prepositional phrase. Note we have the negative right there. Still no not add. No verb until we get to accipio. This must close. Testimonium is the wrong form. Accipio is the first principal part. Shouldn't need to parse it. Accusative, singular, neuter as the direct object. It's taking the ablative as it always does. Homine, hominis, homine is masculine. Moving on into the rest of the verse, we have said, hike, hik, hike, hawk. This could either be the nominative, singular, feminine, or, that's not how you spell that. It could be the accusative, plural, nominative, plural, neuter. Taking a look at the verb, which we have right there. Again, a first principal part, shouldn't need to parse it. It must be the accusative, plural, neuter. Because Jesus is not feminine. He would not be referring to himself with the closer demonstrative in the feminine with the first person singular. So that's crazy. Accusative, plural, neuter, referring to all the things that he said up to this point. I say these things. Ut, emphatic vos again. Salvi, this is salvo, salvere, salvi, salvus, sum. No, that's not right, because it would need a T, and I don't think that's how the principal parts of the verb for saving are. I think this is just the adjective. So nominative, plural, masculine, generic. Sitis from sum esse fui, but in this case, sim, sis, sit. Ut is introducing a purpose clause, and as the purpose clause, it wants a subjunctive, which is what we do have with this. In order that you all may be saved. I could be wrong in my memory about this. It could be that it's the fourth principal part, and therefore this is a perfect passive subjunctive. If I have time, which I don't think I will. It is final week this quarter. So, yeah. Moving on. Ille, first person, no, not first person. This is nominative, singular, masculine, which everybody should know at this point. Erat, this is sum esse fui again. Here we have the imperfect form though, so third person, singular, imperfect, active, indicative. Lucerna being the thing that is linked to ille. Note that lucerna with the A is a feminine. So we've got acting as a noun, actually as a noun, nominative, singular, feminine. And this, I believe, is a hapax legomena for the Bible. And in classical literature, I believe it does appear, but spelled slightly differently. It's not that important, though. The word means lamp. And ardens and lucens, we see from this ens and ens, in both of those, are modifying lucerna. These are both verb forms. The nominative, singular, feminine, because it's modifying lucerna, not ille, present, active, participle. Both of them together. Ardo, to burn, and then lucens, luco, to shine, to light. And what we might think here is that John, who is this lamp, is lighting the path that he is preparing in the way of the Lord. if that makes any sense, from what he said in chapter 1. Vos, autem, introducing a new clause. I'm going to put a comma right here. You, again emphatic, unnecessary. Voluistis, same form as we saw above with missistis. So I'm just going to write the perfect, leave the rest alone. This is volo, vele, volui, not to be confused with volo, volare, volavi, volatum, to fly, but this one means to wish or to will. And it takes a infinitive, which we see with exultare, exulto, exultare, exultavi. So that's present, active, infinitive. I need to work on my C's. Prepositional phrase. Exultare doesn't need a prepositional phrase, but instead what we have happening here is that the Latin is mimicking the Greek, which had this interesting thing, pros horon, and pros acts very much as ad does in the Latin, but when it's used with the word hour or used with the word day, it functions as a approximation of time. So pros horon means about an hour. Ad horam would then also mean about an hour, mimicking the Greek. I don't know if Latin normally does this construction or if it's just Jerome directly translating it. And then closing off this section, prepositional phrase. In luce, eius doesn't fit, so close. In must be taking the ablative due to the ablative singular form of lux, lucis, which is, depending on the author, either masculine or feminine. We don't have an adjective modifying luce, so I'm just going to have to write both of them, as I don't remember how Jerome uses lux. But yeah, it's an interesting thing when that happens. Eius from is id, which I haven't written down, I think, in a while. Is id, eius, eius, eius. This is the genitive, singular, common form for this pronoun, owning luce. There is all of our page today. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in its own context. There is another who bears witness concerning me, and I know that true is witness which he bears concerning me. You yourselves sent to John, and he bore witness to truth. I myself, however, do not from man or humanity accept witness, but these things I say in order that you yourselves may be saved. That one was lamp burning and lighting. You yourselves, however, wished to exult about an hour in his light. We shouldn't necessarily take autem in either case as a indictment against the people. It's just a generic conjunction. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very happy, I think it's Ash Wednesday week. Farewell and Wale.